you doing? So, much of gardening, I think, is about experimenting and trying out new things. And years ago, you could get hanging baskets planted up with busy lizards, and it was called a busy lizzy ball. You'd have this kind of ball of flowers in the summer. But busy lizards don't seem to be grown these days because there's disease problems with those. So I'm thinking of what else can we grow in a hanging basket to make a ball of flowers. And on another video that I've done, you'll see that we've tried it with some little tete-a-tete daffodils. We're waiting to see how that does. But these little guys here are snowdrops, and you can just see a little snowdrop bulb there. We put these into these little cells here back in, I think it was September, because the bulbs become available here in the UK August, September, and it's such a small bulb that if you don't plant it quickly it'll dry up. So we planted up these bulbs back in the autumn, and now here we are in fairly early January, and you can see the shoots are coming. There's even a little flower bud there. I'm going to put these now. You can see I've just started here doing a hanging basket, and I've got a few coming out through the side there. If you have a closer look in this basket, you'll see that we've lined it with moss, but I've also put a little bit of polythene on the bottom of the basket just to hold in a little reservoir of moisture there. And so I've put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little kind of clumps of snowdrops in that bottom layer there. You might be wondering why I've done it this way. Why didn't I just kind of plant the bulbs straight in and let them grow out? The problem is that if I planted the bulbs in there, they'd probably come straight out the top. What I want to do is to plant them so that the nose is going out through the side of the basket, and we get that kind of ball of flowers. So, find some compost. I need to get some more moss around here to stop the compost falling out of the basket. You can get other liners you can use if moss isn't available. Here in Wales we're okay because we've got lots of moss growing in our gardens, in our lawns, because we get so much rain basically. So then we're ready for our next little layer of snowdrops. So here's a little group here that I'm just going to poke through the side there, nestle the moss around there. There we go. Put some compost, one lump or two. There we go, and we slip them out of here. Whoops, that one fell out. Out through the side, and this should be in flower, I reckon. Well, depends what the weather does, but a couple of weeks probably, and we should have this in full flower. I reckon by the middle of February at the latest. This should be looking, as we say here in Wales, should be looking gorgeous. And then I'm going to leave these bulbs in the basket and see if they'll come back year after year. These snowdrop bulbs need to have a dormant time in the summer, so we'll keep it kind of well fed and well watered through the spring, and then let it die back and go dormant, even dry out in the summer. They need to have a little kind of dry spell in the summer, and then hopefully we'll see them shooting out again this time next year. So you can see that I'm actually just planting one side of this basket really, because it's been up against a wall. So to maximise all the flowers, rather than having flowers at the back that nobody's going to see, I'm going to plant them all towards the front. Okay, I think we're ready for our final layer here now. So let's go mad on these snowdrops. Of course, there's loads of different types of snowdrops. You can even get some little yellow varieties which are gorgeous. You can get double varieties. I think this one was the commoner gardener Galanthus elwesii or elwesii. But if you go to your garden centres in September, August, September, you should be able to pick up 3 or 4 different types of snowdrop. The other option is to go into the garden centres this time of year, early spring, late winter, and they'll have them growing in pots. They call it in the green because they're in green leaf like this, and that's perhaps for some people an easier way to grow snowdrops. Trying to get them as close to the edge, most of them, because it's a short flower, and I don't want to be having to climb up step ladders to see the flowers on this. So, a slightly one-sided ball of very early spring flowers is what we're hoping for. I just need to find a little bit more moss to put over there. We'll leave it for a couple of weeks and we'll see what happens by the middle of February. So don't go away, come back and have a look at it in flower. And so, a couple of months later, in the middle of February, we have our hanging basket full of snowdrops. If I'm honest, it's not as full as I'd like it to be. So we put about 100 bulbs in there. I don't think they've all come into flower, but of course it's going to be there for next year. And maybe I'll slot a couple more bulbs in some of the gaps. So rather than having probably 80 or 90 flowers next winter, maybe we'll get 100, 150. I will let you know. Anyway, that's our snowdrop basket. Why don't you give it a go?